Oops, let's. Ok, muy bien. Y Dorothy está magnífico. Ok. Muy buenos días. I just want to let people know a couple of quick things. One is that we will have a makeup class for the class we missed last week. It will be tagged on to the week after this class would have ended. So our last class is March 21st, and the very last class will be like March 27th or 28th, whatever that 7 should be 28th. Okay. Ooh, and you know what? Bear with me. My washer is clunking. I'll be right back. Yikes. Dios mío. Got the washing machine walking across the room. That's also not good. Okay. So it'll be what? Like, I guess like the 28th. 21 plus 7 is 28. So March 28th, that'll actually, our last class was supposed to be March 21st. It'll be the week after that. Para que sepan, so you know. So we will make up the class we missed last week. But I want to make sure we're comfortable kind of getting our feet back under us and getting things sorted out. So, okay. Bien. Y muy buenos días. Buenos días. ¿Cómo están todos? How's everybody? Bien? 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 Bien. Excelente. Excelente. Okay. Sadly, some of you missed the fun medical drawing, but well, we're moving on. Okay. Vale. What I want to do today, and always feel free to interrupt with questions. Perfectly good. Or ask questions at any point today or in email later. What I want to do today is review a little bit of the whole greeting thing we did early, spend a little time working on pronunciation of our vowels again, which I'll explain why that's a big deal, and some special letters in Spanish so that when you see words printed out, you'll know how they're pronounced. Because in the vast majority of cases, unlike English, what you see in Spanish is what you say, okay? But we're going to cover some letters that make sounds, produce sounds, which an English speaker would not expect, and how to do those, and we'll practice that a little bit in class today. We're going to practice greetings. We're going to practice identifying. Everybody got their book? See? Bien? Bien? Okay. If you did not yet download the audio, there is audio that goes with the book, and there are little icons. And, you know, I'm not being ageist here, but sometimes people do or do not struggle a little bit with the technology part of it. So anytime you see the little like microphone speaker icon, there is audio for that. And I want to show you what it will look like on the app. Oops, there's my husband's lungs. You don't want to see that anymore. Okay. But when you look for the app either on the iPhone App Store or probably Google Play if you're on Android. I personally am on Android, not Apple system. The little logo will look like that. But if you put in the word Spanish, oddly enough, it will not pop up. You'll have to input the, look for the app under must know. Just type in must know first, actually. I think that will get you there. And you'll see something that looks like that lightning bolt. It's kind of almost a Superman kind of looking logo. And the app doesn't cost anything. It's totally free. But it'll bring up like all the apps for all of what they have as a high school series. So from that great big menu, you will just pick the Spanish. And I did test it out myself, and it does seem to work pretty well. So, but just so you know, you look for that little visual sign, must know. If you type in must know Spanish, I don't believe it will come up. It might in the Apple Store, but I know it does not in the Android. Okay. Magnifico. Greetings, how to identify people. We're going to talk about, we're actually going to step in a little bit earlier than I normally would to the wonderful and sometimes frustrating world of verbs. One verb, actually two verbs we're going to take a look at, because the first couple chapters, they already dive into one of those verbs, which is the verb ser, and explain why verbs do what they do, why it's important to get it right. So we got a lot to do. I'm going to back up just a little bit. I wasn't going to cover a lot with alphabet, but Eric, I think it was you who had mentioned that you're working with alphabet. And then actually, in one of my YouTube folks that I follow, oddly enough, they making a trip from Mexico up to the US on their road trip, the first question they got asked at the hotel was, spell your name. And I always think my students don't know how to, they don't need to know how to spell. What the blankety blank. Well, that made me rethink it. They don't need to know how to spell. Maybe you do. Yeah, if you got, and you know, he asked him how to spell Gonzalez. And the thing is, even though the guy's pretty fluent also in English, he said, oh my God, my brain went on a freeze. And I was like, I got to spell it in English? Oh, blankety blank. No. So, you know, he was prepared for, you know, do you have a single or your double? Where's your credit card? And what he got was spell your name. So, okay, we're going to just really quickly fly through that whole alphabet thing. But para que sepan, just so you know, the real important thing is not as much to spell, but I'll model them for you. El alfabeto, the word for Spanish, el alfabeto. Alfabeto, they sometimes call that abecedario. Like we say ABCs, that's kind of the equivalent, abecedario. Okay. Here are the really important ones, and that we, in terms of pronunciation and making yourself understood so people know what you're saying. These are actually the important letters out of the alphabet, okay? Las vocales. These are the most important ones. So that you know what the names of the letters are, they are the names for the letters are the same as the sound they make for vowels. Boom. Okay. So they are a, e, o, u. And the o is a short o. Because we want to say in English, oh, and it's not that kind of an O. Will people understand you? Well, yeah, but it will sound a little off to them. It will sound heavily accented, yeah. And by the way, the only thing I don't like about this book, it says, don't drop your jaw with that sound ah. Yes, drop your jaw with that sound ah. It will make it come out clearer for you as an English speaker getting into Spanish. A, e, o, u. And the shape of your lips and your mouth, they are actually important, okay? I don't want people to stress about pronunciation, but these vowels, if you get your vowels right in Spanish and say them properly, your chances of being understood shoot up to like 75%. I kid you not. And here is why that is true. In English, we have this sound called a schwa. And a schwa is the sound It's like an upside down E representation, if they write out what the sound is like. The schwa, for you learning Spanish, is your enemy. Because we in English use the schwa sound all the time. And the schwa sound is And your English brain so desperately is used to that unconsciously you will start to plug that in to things in Spanish where it doesn't belong. And the sound in Spanish, not only does it not exist, it will confuse the hell out of the person who's listening to you. Okay? Because if you get those vowels clear, they know what word you're saying, even if you kind of mess up some other things along the path. But if you get the vowels wrong, sometimes different words can, just being off by a vowel, being off can confuse them. They don't know which word you mean. So, a, e, I, o, u. We're going to practice that a little bit later this morning. Here are las consonantes. Here are the consonants, just so you know what they sound like. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but as I mentioned, the guy who suddenly had to spell his name at an American hotel was suddenly flummoxed. And some of these you will notice are actually double letter combinations. Technically, they are not separate letters of the alphabet anymore, but they used to be. They used to be a separate entry in the dictionary, as a matter of fact. And that changed about 15, 20 years ago. So, not that long ago. But they do make a different sound, even though they're not officially a separate letter anymore. This che, which we won't spend a lot of time on because che is the only way that H gets a sound, number one. And number two, that the H has to be together with that C in the CH combination. And it's exactly like what you expect in English, which is why we're not going to practice it, because it is what you expect, che. But the letter is che, okay? This is elle. This one is problematic. We'll spend a little bit of time on this today. It's a double L. This is ñ. This is still a separate letter, ñ, okay? It's not a double letter. And this R. And I would say don't stress about the issue of rolling your R's. Many people stress about rolling their R's. It is nice to do. It is nice to at least get a little tickle of a trill in your hip pocket to use. But if you can't get the strong trill, don't stress too much at this point, okay? Bien. So, okay, the reason I color-coded these are that the red letters, any letter in red will make a very different sound. So we'll come back to those later on today. But just what the letters are called for spelling are this. Actually, B and V make exactly the same sound. Yeah, but they're called B grande, big B, sometimes called B burro, B for burro, like hee-haw, yeah, and B chica, which means little B. B grande, B chica. You will never get the v with your teeth on the bottom lip sound in Spanish. That's a no-no. B and B sound exactly alike, always. Sometimes we spell it with the B grande. Sometimes we spell that sound, B, more like a B in English, but softer. Sometimes we spell it with the B chica, the little V. Sometimes they call that B vaca, V, because the word for cow is vaca with a V-A-C-A. So, B grande, B chica. Here is C. C is the name of that letter. Che. D. It is softer. D. F. It makes the sound you think it will. Re. Re. Like hey you. Only with a little throat action in it. Re. Re. Okay. H. Here's the one really truly silent letter in Spanish, unless it's a CH combination. H in any other combination will be silent. Always, always, always. Something it shares with French. It's okay. So, H. H is the name of that letter. The name of this letter is J. J will make a sound you don't expect. That's why it's in red. H makes a sound you don't expect. Nothing at all. That's why it's in red. Okay. K. The letter K comes in only from foreign words that come into Spanish, like kilometro. Okay. So this won't be a big factor for you ever. Okay. L. It's the sound you expect, but a little more of a lilt to it. Le. You get a little more action behind your tongue flipping a little behind your front teeth with that L. Yeah, a little bit of action there. That has actually a range of pronunciations that are acceptable, and it will vary slightly depending on the country and sometimes even the region of the person you're speaking with. Okay, so that gets read, because they make a sound you're not going to expect. M, there's the name of the letter. It does what you think it will do. N, makes the sound you think it will make. Enye does not make, it is a separate letter. It does get a squiggle over the top, a little tilde thing over the top. Easy to learn, different sound from English, but easy to learn. Okay. Be, same sound, but softer. Okay. Cool. We'll get a k sound, and it'll sound like cool. Okay. Bien. Ere does get a slight trill. Okay. Double R gets a strong trill. Don't sweat that too much, but again, they're in red because the red letters make a sound different from what you expect in English. S, this S sounds like you expect an S. Te sounds like you expect, but softer, not an explosive sound. I'll explain that in a little bit. Like the letter K or Ka, this W, which is either called W or W or U doble or, yeah, comes in only from words that come into Spanish from a different foreign language. So W will not be a big factor for you ever because it's in very limited number of words. The K, the letter K, will be limited because you'll hardly ever see it, you know. And then we're going to move on. X actually gets a few variations of sound. Sometimes it is an XXX sound, and you'll see it in the pronunciation sheets I gave you. Sometimes it gets a variety of little, ch sounds. We'll explain that later. Not a huge factor, though. Not a huge factor, that X, so don't sweat that now. This letter Y, a number of words in Spanish will have the letter Y, and the letter Y is either given the name of the letter is either Y, frequent in Latin America, or Y. Y means Greek I. Greek I. Okay. Y is pretty easy. It's a ya sound or an e sound, one or the other. And zeta, as the Brits call it, Z instead of Z. The word in Spanish is zeta for that letter, zeta. And I want you to notice that S-E-zeta, the S and the Z sound the same. They make the same sound. So S and a Z always make the s sound, but notice no buzz like z, not that S. Okay. And the B and the V will sound alike, but they will sound like our letter B, just softer. Para que sepan, so you know. Okay. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's do a little bit of pronunciation practice, and then we will get into our greeting stuff, identifying people stuff, all that fun stuff there. Okay, let's take a quick look at our A sound. Let's just practice a few of these. And we're going to take the last, and I'm sorry, it's highlighting everything. We're going to take the last 4. Actually, let's take the last 5. last 5 words on this list. I had sent this list through an email to you. We're going to take the last words on our practice list for the letter ah, which is always going to be never an never an a. It's always and it super does help if you drop your jaw a little bit. It really does. So I want you to like turn on your sound, make sure you're not on mute, and I want you to repeat these with me. Okay, Santa,
Santa.
Santa, Santa, Santa. Santa means is what they use for saint, or it can mean holy. Okay. And you'll see it a lot of geographic names, right? Santa Clara, Santa Cruz, Santa Barbara. We got a lot of California names with the Santa word in here. Yeah, see. Okay. Next, we've got the word for white, which is blanca.
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 Blanca. And I'm going to show you with this B, Blanca, magnifico, Blanca, Blanca, Blanca. And what we're focusing on is our sounds, isolating those sounds and trying to make that natural. Blanca, Blanca, not blank. Yeah, we got an English word blank. Yeah, but no Blanca, Blanca, Blanca. Okay, Blanca. Okay. And notice the B, when you pronounce the letter B, you should not feel a puff of air. In English, we say big bad boy, big bad boy. And if you do this, you'll feel breath. In Spanish, you should not feel breath when you pronounce that letter B. Blanca, Blanca, Blanca. Yeah. And I can't hear that, but But Spanish has fewer explosive sounds, meaning a lot of the letters that they have, like the B, the P, the T, we in English put a lot of breath, a lot of aspiration with it. And in Spanish, they won't. They're soft pedal. They're take the foot off the accelerator. Okay. So it's the same sound, but without the puff of air. Just so you know, okay, para que sepan. Okay, let's take another look where we're going to isolate the sound. Calma, 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 calma. Bien. Calma, calma, bien. Okay, calma. It means what you think. It's a cognate. It means what you think. Here's a word that we hear a lot because we live in the Southwest. Casa. 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 Okay, good. And you're hearing already that C sound has a lot of ka, like we do in English. Yeah, often it does. And here's another word, banda. Banda. And when you pronounce band in English, you'll feel a puff of air, but banda, you shouldn't feel a puff of air. Banda. So the B will just be pressing your lips together a little bit, really softly. Banda. Yeah, but the A is always an sound, always. No exceptions, ever. Okay, let's look at our comes from the back of your throat. Is, you should be smiling at the end. This, oddly enough, like we have, one of our pause sounds in English is Por ejemplo, for example, I'd like a pound of ham and half a pound. Where we say because you're thinking, you will hear Spanish speakers saying when they're thinking. This is the thinking sound. I don't know what I want to say yet. So what comes out of my mouth is or maybe So but you're smiling at the end of it. Okay, and it's a brief sound. So let's take uno, dos, tres, cuatro. We're gonna take that letter, that sound last. Let's take these words. We're going to focus on the sounds in these. Cobre. And I want you to hear there is no such thing as a silent E at the end of word. English, we got a lot of silent E. Skate, late, great. No, not that great, but great that you walk on yeah. A slate. Yeah. Silent E in English. No such thing in Spanish. If you see the letter E, you pronounce it cobre.
Cobre.
Cobre. Okay.
Cobre.
Here's a word for jungle. Selva.
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 Yeah. Not, notice not selva. No. Selva. 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 Magnifico. Here's a word that means sale, like it's on sale. Venta.
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 Venta. Okay. Bien. Here is a shorty word, like we say TV instead of television. They have tele.
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 Tele. Magnifico. Okay. We're going to take this one next. There are some words in Spanish, especially verbs, that might have a double E combination. And what that means is actually you do pronounce two E's, but you take that A sound and you kind of drag it out. It's the only time you drag out the sound. So here's how this word is going to sound that I have highlighted. Creer.
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 We take the E and we drag it out. Creer. Okay. It means to believe or to think, as in I have this opinion. Creer. Here's another word that gets that same thing, that same kind of sound, because it's two E's next to each other. We just drag the E sound out longer. Leer. Leer. This is a common verb. It's a verb that means to read. Leer. So, you should be smiling at the end of the sound with that letter E. Okay. Yeah. See. There. Okay. We're going to take some of the words from our E list, and it will have the long E sound like in English. Okay. Clean, scream, dream. But all these vowels are shorter and cleaner. E. Okay. E. Yeah. And the E kind of comes from the top of your palate a little bit. E. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at something. Okay. I'm going to pick some words that are great isolation words for the abril. Our word for April. Abril. Bien. Let's take this word. This word means nice. If somebody calls you this, in Spanish, nice has a stronger connotation than English is. The word nice in English is kind of a sappy word. Well, that's nice. And it's nice has almost kind of a meh connotation in English. Yeah. But in Spanish, it's strong. It's like super good. Okay. So simpático. Simpático. We've got two E sounds in that word. Simpático. Simpático. Nice. Eres muy simpático. You're really nice. Okay. Somebody's giving you a big compliment. They've got this, which we're just going to do. Oh, some people say this when they clink glasses to toast when they're having a little drinky poo. Yeah. Chin chin. I think that snuck in from Italian. I'm not sure. But anyway, okay. Here's one of your rare things, but you'll hear this a lot because people buy things not by the pound, by the kilo. Kilo. Here's our helpful winter word for flu. Gripe. Here's a good word to practice our sound. This has two meanings in Spanish. It either means ready or very clever, very smart. Listo. And here's a word for view. We see this in a lot of city names and a lot of street names here in the Southwest. Vista. Okay. And here is the beauty and the curse at the same time of what we call cognates, words that look like, it looks like an English word. We have the word vista. Yeah, but we don't. So you know, a vista is a view, right? Okay. But that's what this means. It means what you might guess it would mean, vista. But notice your English brain will really fight you because your automatic reaction is going to be vista. And when you want to pronounce it, vista, 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 vista. Bien. And that V will sound like a letter B, but soft. Vista, vista.
Vista.
Bien.
Vista.
Okay. Bien. Let's go through our O and U, and we're going to talk a little bit about one thing they talked about in the very first chapter here. They talked a lot about pronunciation. Okay. O is shorter. It's cut. O. Okay. O. Yeah, keep it short. We're going to go through, some of these words here. Fondo. Fondo. Fondo is bottom or background. Might mean either one depending on the context. Here's a super important word because it's how we say you're not doing something. The word no.
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 No. And notice it's not no, it's no.
No.
No. Yeah. Here's a word that's heard a lot. Oddly, this word is sometimes used by grandmas to talk to their grandchildren as a term of endearment. I know. Gorda. 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 Fat. I know. It sounds funny. Yeah. Gorda. Here's a word that's super important for you to know because it's a question word. And it's the word for where? Donde. 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 Even with the letter D, it will be softer than what it is in English. Donde. 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 Okay. And here's a word that you sometimes hear a lot in the Southwest where we live because we have, a lot of geographic things here in the Southwest that get this word thrown in. Oro.
Oro.
Oro. Oro. The word for gold.
Oro.
Oro. Bien. I'm going to do this one because how many of you ever take a drive up north, drive up Highway 87, Tonto Natural Bridge, Tonto Verde. Yeah. And we say Tonto in English when we see that, but this is really tonto. 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 Tonto means foolish. If somebody calls you that, they're not paying you a compliment. Tonto. Moms will yell this at their kids. Que tonto eres. You dummy, they'll say to the kid. Sometimes unkindly. Okay. Usually gets this sound. We're going to take a look at letter oo. And yeah, you have to really round your lips out. Ooh. This is going to shoot out from your lips. Our vowels start at the back of our throat, work up the palate, and shoot straight out the mouth. Ah, eh. E is up there. O. Okay. O usually gets this sound once in a while. Not always, only in certain combinations. Once in a while, U does go silent, and we'll talk about that later. Not really today. Okay. O will have this sound always. Let's pick a few words that are, let's take this word. Burro. 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 It'll always sound like ooh, right? And we got cubre.
Cubre.
We've got puro. Puro. We're going to take this word for cloud up in the sky. Nube. Nube. And that B is going to be really soft. Nube. Your lips barely touch with the B there. Nube. And let's take this word because this is an important question word. Cuando. Okay. I want you to notice something about vowels. Your book talks a lot about this, and I don't want you to get too hung up about it, but they talk quite extensively about what we call diphthongs. What a funny sound is diphthong. And I just want you to show what diphthongs are. All that means is two vowels that are walking together. Two vowels right next to each other. And what that means is really you pronounce both vowels, but you kind of usually, unless there's an accent mark, you slide them together. Okay. So if we have these two sounds, it'll be wa, 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 wa. It'll sound almost like an English W, doesn't it? Wa. So cuando, wa. We pronounce both those vowels. We just kind of slide them together as much as possible. Cuando, cuando. That UA is what they call a diphthong. Okay. And they talk a lot about that in your first chapter. Here's another diphthong, IE, and we'll pronounce them together. IE, 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 IE. Like siento, siento. IE, those will both get pronounced. Siento. Okay. Or, for example, here's another common diphthong sound, two vowels walking together. U, e, u, e, u, e, u, e, u, e. We pronounce them both together, like duerme, duerme, duerme. Okay. So just so you know, diphthongs means two letters together. We still pronounce both of those letters. If one has an accent mark, we might punch that sound a little heavier than the other, but that's all they mean when they talk about diphthongs in your book. Okay. Okay. We're going to take a really quick look at a couple of letters that have sounds you don't expect in English. So I'm going to take a look off of this pronunciation page that I gave you, and then we're going to move on after that. Okay. Rápidamente, quickly. This letter Y, which I call it, but some people call it Y, this Y sound, right? It's going to get two separate sounds, and it depends on where the Y appears in the word. If the letter Y, Greek I, if it's the very last letter of the word, if it's the very last letter in a word, it'll sound like the I sound. So I'm going to introduce these to you because you're going to start to hear this word a lot. Okay. And remember, the H is silent, so the H makes no sound at all. So we've got words like I. The Y sounds like an E. So it'll be A and E. I. This word I is actually a super important word because it's a little verb unto itself. It means either there is to talk about one thing, or there are to talk about a bunch of things. There is, there are. In English, we need two words. There is, there are. In Spanish, you need one word. I. And the E at the end, you'll hear. Here's another word that gets a Y at the end. Hoy. 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 Today. Okay. Here's another word you'll hear a lot because it means very. So this is an intensifier word like, very well. Muy bien. Right. The word muy. Very. And this is just a practice word. It means guinea pig. Cuy. People eat this in Peru. Okay. Cuy. So if Y is the very last letter of a word, it'll make the sound like exactly like this vowel, E. Okay. If Y is the last letter of the word, it'll sound like that. But if Y comes anywhere else, if it starts out the word, if it's smack in the middle of the word, it'll sound like an English yeah. Okay, so these are not hard. But we use these because these help us pronounce some vowels again. Mayo. Like you expect, mayo. Playa.
Like.
Here is a word that talks about an ethnic group from ancient Mexico. Maya,
Maya.
Maya,
Maya.
Maya. Here's an important word in Spanish because it means yesterday as opposed to today. Ayer,
Ayer.
ayer,
Ayer.
ayer. So, yeah, like you expect. Okay. Bien. Let's take a look at some of the letters that do what you don't expect, and then we'll move on. An H is always silent unless it's that CH combo. So this is a given. It is a forever rule. You don't have to think about it very hard, but you do because your English brain, again, is used to doing a ha, and we don't do that, okay? So you've already heard oi and I, but let's look at some other words that get an H in them. You will not hear the H. Hombre,
Hombre.
hombre, hombre, okay? Honor,
Honor.
honor, honor, okay? Here's a famous place in Spain, Alhambra. Alhambra. You ignore the H completely. Alhambra. Here's another super important word. The word for that we use to say hungry. It actually means hunger, but here's the word hambre.
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 So I'm going to point out two words because this is going to link in the idea of why vowels are so important. And if you are a fan of movies about the old American West, you'll know what I'm talking about because these words get mispronounced by Hollywood in old movies from the 30s and 40s and 50s. If you get your vowels right, you will always pronounce this word correctly. And the word is hambre.
Hambre.
Hambre. If you get your vowels right, you'll always pronounce this hombre. Hombre. Those two words are different by one letter. And how many times in the old Hollywood thing, bad hombres? That is like bad hungers. What the blankety blank you talking about, dude? Yeah. Okay. It's really important to get the vowel sound right because it makes the difference between one word meaning something very different from the other word. Hambre, hombre, hambre, hombre. Totally different words, not related, different by one sound. Okay. So Hollywood does a disservice. We're going to do one more H sound because you're going to hear this again when we practice our greetings again. Hasta.
Hasta.
Hasta. Hasta is spelled with an H, but we don't pronounce it. Hasta. 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 Hasta luego. See you later. Hasta mañana. See you tomorrow. Okay. Hasta means until. Literally. Here's another letter. We're going to move on to, another letter that makes a very, very different sound. Your brain desperately wants to say this as a ja. But this letter, which is called jota, makes this sound. It's somewhat throaty. If you don't get the throaty part, but you just do a kind of heavy duty H, you'll be understood. Okay. But a little throat action is helpful. Okay. In some parts of Spain, it's literally sounds like the phlegm ball coming out. Yeah. Hawk up a big juicy one and spit it out. It sounds like that pronounced. In Mexico, not quite that heavy duty. So a little bit of regional variation. Here are some words that have this sound. And I definitely want you guys to try this with me right now. Ojo.
Ojo.
Ojo. Your eye. Ojo. People sometimes used to say, uh-oh, bus coming. Don't step out on the street. Ojo. Ojo. Yeah. Ojo. Okay. Here's something people eat. Jamón. Jamón.
Almond.
Jamón. Oh, one letter is different. Now it's something you use to wash up. Jabón.
Jabón.
Jabón. Jabón. Here's a word that means somebody who is short, not tall. Bajo.
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 Here's a word that means this thing. Reloj.
Reloj.
Reloj. It's hard to do that one. At the end, reloj. Reloj.
Reloj.
Reloj can either be a clock on your
Reloj.
wall
Reloj.
or the clock on your wrist. Reloj. And we're going to do this word because it's used a lot. It means better. The opposite of worse. Mejor.
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 Mejor. Okay. And you'll see some words here and there as we go along. Jueves for Thursday.
Jueves.
Mujer, which means woman.
Mujer.
Can also mean wife. Mujer, mujer.
Mujer.
You'll start to see that word quickly in this book, mujer.
Mujer.
And here's a long word with a J, which means to work. It's what we call an infinitive. It's a word that talks about an action, but it's not what we call conjugated. It does not tell you who's doing the action, just what the action is. If the action is to work, it is trabajar. Trabajar.
Trabajar.
Trabajar. That ha thing is important. And we're going to talk about this sound too. This double L, the L, gets a gradation of different pronunciations depending on the country and sometimes the region in the country. So there is an acceptable variation of how you pronounce this letter, depending on where you live. All right. Here's what's acceptable. What's acceptable is either a plain old English Y, yeah. Okay. And we're going to be hearing a lot of this letter with our como se llama, what's his name? Como te llamas, what's your name? The L can be as simple as a yeah. The way I do it is a very slight j combined with the y, but very slight. Okay. And I'll let you hear the difference. The two acceptable ones to aim for are either, let's look at the word in blue, llama,
Llama.
or the way I say it, which is llama. It's not strictly a ja, it's a llama. It's the tiniest bit of a j with the y combined. Llama. The other side of the acceptable gradations of the L sound, if you are in Buenos Aires, Argentina, if you're in Argentina, that word is pronounced llama. That's pretty strong. And if you said, como se llama, it's going to sound very Argentine. All right. So if you were traveling anywhere in Mexico, most places in South America, any gradation from llama to llama with that slight J with the Y is acceptable. Okay. Totally be understood. Llama, I would say, don't do that unless you know you're going to Buenos Aires. Okay. Because people automatically think, ooh, Argentine, when they hear that. Okay, llama. So let's practice these. And you can pronounce it with llama or llama. Calls. Let's look at this word. Llave. Llave. A key for a door. Llave. Here's the word for street, and you may need this. Calle.
Calle.
Calle. Yeah, see. Here's a word for chicken. Pollo.
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 Right? It's never polo. Polo is a sport. Yeah. Polo, but pollo. Pollo.
Pollo.
Pollo or pollo. Either is acceptable. Okay. Here's a word for a chair that you sit in. Silla.
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 And here's a word for yellow. Amarillo.
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 Amarillo. Amarillo. And here's another important one we're going to practice with this word, because if you're shopping in a store, people may ask what size you're looking for, right? A size is in clothing size, and this is very specific for talking about clothing, is talla. 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 Okay, so you get a little taste of what the L sounds like. Anything from a Y to a little bit of a J sound combined with the Y. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about this letter, N. This is going to be easy, this one. We won't do the whole list. We'll do a few things on the list. It's nya, like onion. So you already have something to compare it to. Onion, nya, 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 nya. Okay? Or if you're a Three Stooges fan, which that's dying out, thank God. Yeah, that yeah. Okay. And we get words like cañón,
Cañón.
cañón, baño, baño, daño, daño. Get words like niño,
Niño.
niño, niño. We get the word año,
And
año,
Año.
año, year. Okay. Whoa, we get, you're going to hear this word. You're going to hear tons and tons. Mañana. Mañana either means tomorrow or morning. And this size, which does not talk about clothing, but like the size of your car or the size of your house or the size of a box, that is tamaño. Tamaño. Okay. We have this very common word. You'll see this on menus a lot. If you go to Mexico, piña.
Piña.
Piña. Piña. Here's an ingredient in tacos. Is tacos al pastor. They have piña. They have pineapple. And the word for fingernail, oddly enough, uña.
Uña.
Uña. So the end with a little squiggle is an enye, and it's a nya, nya, nya. Hey, way, how easy. Okay, I'm going to show you one little quick sidestep here with pronunciation, and that is that the U, when a U might be silent. QUE and QUI, for now, that's all you need to know. QUE and QUI, the U there will not get pronounced. This is one of the few times a U goes silent. Okay, so you're and because it's combined with the U. Yeah, and we do that in English. Queen, quarrel, right? English words. Okay. So in Spanish, words that are QU, the U will be silent. So this word is an important word. It means what? It's a question word. Que.
Okay.
Right? But it won't be QE. I know we've got an U in there, but it won't make the U sound. Que.
Okay.
Que. Que. Here's another important word you'll hear a lot. Again, it's a question word. It's the word for who, okay? Who? ¿Quién?
Quién.
¿Quién? And notice we got an IE, we got a diphthong. I-E. ¿Quién? ¿Quién?
Quién.
¿Quién? Magnífico. ¿Quién? Okay. Bueno, we've got the word quince.
Quince.
Quince. The word, it's a number, quince. We have the word I want, which is an important word to have in your hip pocket when you want to order something. Quiero.
Quiero.
Quiero. And you hear the E and the E together. E and the E to quiero.
Quiero.
Quiero. And we're going to point out this one, which is the word for cheese, because you'll see that on the menu too. Queso.
Queso.
Queso. Queso. Okay. Bien. All right. Está bien. Good. We'll come back to pronunciation another time. I'm going to do a little quick quiz on greetings. See what you remember. Wow. If it's this time in the morning, how do you greet somebody and say, good morning? ¿Cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se dice?
Buenos días.
Buenos días. Buenos días. Buenos días. Buenos días. Magnifico. It's this time in the morning. How do you greet somebody?
Buenos días.
Buenos días. Again, buenos días. Buenos días. Oh, wait a minute. If it's this time, but PM, how do you greet somebody?
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. Bien. If it's this time PM, how do you greet somebody?
Buenas tardes.
Ooh,
Ooh.
depende. It might be. It might be buenas tardes. If the sun is still up. That's the key. So I'm going to show you this time here, in most places where Spanish is spoken, in most of Latin America, many parts of Latin America, the sun is still going to be up 7 p.m. So really where we in English will say maybe good evening, it'll really still be buenas tardes. So the key is the sun still up? Yeah, probably, likely, buenas tardes. Maybe not in Spain, because the sun probably not up at this time of year, right? Depende, depends, right? Por ejemplo, this time PM, it's definitely buenas tardes. Buenas tardes, okay? This time PM, we greet somebody with buenas tardes. Buenas tardes, bien? Buenas tardes, okay? So, greetings, important, kind of a big deal there. I am going to give you a video to watch this week as a review to kind of let your ear hear this more, okay? So I'm not going to play this because it's very long and I need to move on to some other topics here. But they're going to show you a variety of greetings and they're going to separate them into polite and informal. And they're going to start with informal because they're young people, they themselves. So their main audience originally was people in their 20-something or younger. Okay. We'll talk about why that's a thing. There are formal ways to greet people and there are informal ways to greet people. And we're going to talk about that in formal, informal world a little bit in just a bit. But I'm going to have you watch that. Definitely turn on the CC box. Yeah, the subtitle box when you watch it. They're going to go through just different ways of saying hi, saying goodbye. There are going to be a few parts where they get kind of long, like, oh, you're Johnny's teacher, aren't you? Kind of don't worry about that. That gets too long. But all the greetings things are super helpful so that you hear those patterns over and over. Okay, so you know what to expect. And do know when they talk about informal greetings, like you might say, hola, or ¿qué tal? How you doing? ¿Qué tal? Those are informal and they're okay with anybody. All right. ¿Qué tal? How you doing? It's just a different way of saying, ¿Cómo estás? How are you? ¿Qué tal is a little bit less formal, but you can use it with anybody. ¿Qué tal? What you shouldn't use with just anybody is ¿Qué onda? That's one of the first greetings they're going to tell you in that video. ¿Qué onda? Which means what wave. ¿Qué onda will never be used between people my age. 20, 25, younger. Everybody says ¿Qué onda? ¿Qué onda is kind of like the equivalent of saying in English, Sup. Sup. Yeah. What's up? What's up? But young people say it to each other. Older people do not. And it's considered very slangy. Okay. So when they talk about formal versus informal, that's what they mean. Okay. Bien. Bien. And let's talk just a little bit. Un poquito. Un poquito. We want to talk a little bit about this formal and formal thing because it's very, very different in Spanish. And it actually matters quite a lot. Sadly, it matters because we have different words for you. In English, you is you. I talk to 5 people, I say you, or maybe you guys. Or maybe, depending on where I'm from in the United States, y'all. Maybe. Okay. But Spanish has a number of words for you. A lot of languages do. They are not the only one. And knowing the right you when you address people as you is actually important because it shows respect or familiarity. Okay, so let's talk about that and see if you can distinguish when we use the right word. The informal, the friendly, the buddy-buddy word for you is tú. 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 It gets an accent mark. Tú. That means you. And it's you for somebody that you would normally call by their first name. So here's the easy rule of thumb. If you would call that person by their first name, you can use tú with them. So that means people in your family, people you already know pretty well. Okay. If you call the guy next door Jim, you will talk to him using tú to address him as you. Okay. If Jim next door is Jim Smith, and you would not use Jim, you would call him Mr. Smith. You cannot use tú. It is considered gauche, rude, not very polite. Okay. You use tú to talk to little kids all the time, even if you don't know their first name. You're talking to a little kid, 5-year-old, 10-year-old, teenager, tú. Kids expect it. Tú. Hey, you kid, get off my lawn. Tú. Yeah, it's that. Okay. So tú for first name basis. This word, usted, is the formal you. It is the formal you. We use this word to address somebody as in ¿Cómo está usted? ¿Cómo se llama usted? We use this word you when it's somebody we would call by their last name, to show respect. So anybody you would only call by their last name, if you don't know their first name at all, you're meeting somebody for the first time, it's considered polite to use usted. 2 teenagers meeting each other for the first time will never use usted because they're kids talking to each other. 2 20-year-olds will never use usted talking to each other because it sounds old lady-like. Yeah. Overly formal. Okay. But 2 40-year-olds who don't know each other will use usted with each other. So we use usted with anybody we don't call by their first name. Boom, there you go. All right. Usted. So with bosses, with teachers, with, any kind of situation like that. And the plural, we have to have a plural you guys word. And the plural you guys term in Latin America will always be ustedes. Ustedes is used no matter if you know the person or not, familiar or formal, always you guys is ustedes in Latin America. Okay, ustedes. the plural of usted. Okay. In Spain, you will hear a fourth way to say you, and it's like ustedes, a you guys term. It is called vosotros. I will only refer to it, but not actively use it. It is used only in Spain and not in Latin America. Vosotros is the plural of tú. It is the plural for tú. It is the you guys for a familiar level. So it's used a great deal in Spain and gets a separate verb form, but nowhere else. Okay. So if you want to use that, go for it. I can direct you for more information. But here are the three yous we're going to use actively. Tú, usted, ustedes. And you will see usted and ustedes written out, abbreviated very often like this. You'll see it abbreviated a lot, but we don't pronounce it ud or uds. It's still usted, ud period, ustedes, uds period. Okay, just so you know, it's abbreviated. Okay. Oh yeah, usted used to be vuestra merced, your grace. Talking to like the guy who owned your land. You probably, were some poor schmuck digging the dirt to make a living in the Middle Ages. Yeah. All right. Here's what you need to know. When do you use the right word? Tú, usted, or ustedes? And sadly, sadly, I've got some answers here, so we're going to take those out. Yeah. You didn't really see that. If you address these people as you, if it's a kid talking to a teacher, they do not use tú. They use usted. Okay. If you're talking with the guy who lives next door to you, probably you're on a first name basis. So you'll address that person as tú. Yeah, tú. Okay. Unless you're meeting him for the very first time. And if I'm talking to everybody here in class, unless I'm talking to one person, if I'm talking to all of you, I will use ustedes. Ustedes. Because it's you guys. Yeah. But in English, we don't have to say the guys part, right? We'll just say you. And that's considered okay. All right. Now I'm going to tell you very briefly, that in Spanish-speaking countries, people will often literally signal to you and say, oh, you don't have to use tú with me, or you don't have to use usted with me. We'll switch from using usted to tú. I'll give you an example. Por ejemplo, some friends of mine who rented an Airbnb down in Puerto Peñasco, Rocky Point. Yeah. And they went to the same little corner grocery store, and they used usted the first day they were there. And the second day they went in because they forgot to get milk. They go in the second time. They use usted, and the people of the store were like, oh, no, tú. So it is common for people, once they see you even the second time, to flip over into the familiar tú, and they will signal that to you. And that's a signal to you to, oh, let's not be formal anymore. It's all good. Okay. They tend to be, both in Spain and in Mexico, a friendly bunch of people. So it's frequent for people to flip into informal mode very quickly. And they will signal that to you, and it means a-okay. All right. But if in doubt, whether you should use tú or usted, stick err on the side of being polite, which is usted. Err on the side of being polite. Okay, let's take a look at some more examples. See if you can tell me when we will use tú or usted or ustedes. Oh, you're talking with the guy who rings up your groceries. Which one do you call him by?
Tú.
Tú or usted or ustedes. You've never been in the store before. You just walk in. You're Joe Schmo off the street.
Usted.
Usted. Usted is a polite way. Usted. Any clerk in a store. Usted. I know. He's got a name tag that says Jim. Usted. You don't really know him. Yeah. Usted. If you see him a bunch of times, like every week, you can flip over to tú. Okay. Kid talking to grandma.
Usted.
Oh, family. Probably tú. In some culturally, there are some countries that will use usted, but generally tú. Grandma talking to grandkid. Tú. Absolutely. Tú. Oh, I see a bunch of kids.
Tú.
It's a bunch of them. Ustedes. We address them as ustedes. Hey, you kids, get off my lawn. Yeah. Okay. Oh, they're greeting this guy. They're going to do an interview with this guy right here.
Usted.
Usted. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when you don't want to muck around with, it's usted. Oh, and he talks to the two of them who are interviewing him as
Ustedes.
ustedes. See, ustedes, you guys, both of you. Oh, you're talking to this nice little girl.
Tú.
To say you. Yeah. Oh, Queen's dead now. Oops, I got to update that photo. Oh, well. You meet a queen.
Usted.
Usted. Yeah. Usted. Yeah. Usted. That's formal for sure. You're in a business meeting.
Ustedes.
Ustedes. Yeah.
Ustedes.
That might vary in Spain. Yeah. Oh, you invite everybody over for the Super Bowl to watch it together. It's ustedes. In Spain, invite everybody to watch a game with you is vosotros, but not on this side of the pond. Yeah. Okay. So just know in Spain, if you ever go to a place like Barcelona, Madrid, yeah, they'll use vosotros, but nobody in Latin America uses vosotros. It'll be ustedes, always ustedes. Okay. And I'm going to send you that little list there so you can see those kind of comparisons, and I'll put the greetings in there for you. Okay. Let's review something that reviews both both that ja sound and some identify yourself sounds. We're going to look at this combination that is se llama. Name is. I'm going to show you how things change. If I'm talking about somebody, wanting to know who they are, who is that? Who is that guy? Who is that guy? What is his name? When people want to find out what's somebody's name, they want to identify them. The question will start with this question word, which is como, which is how. Literally, it really means how. ¿Cómo se llama? Oh, hear that ja sound. ¿Cómo se llama él? What's his name? Él means he. Literally, that question asks, what does he call himself? Well, we wouldn't translate that literally because that would sound just stupid in English. Yeah. What does he call himself? What? What's his name? All right. But this is the way they say that in Spanish. ¿Cómo se llama él? And this little part here, se llama, is what we call a verb phrase. And it means he calls himself. So if I'm talking about one person, that phrase will be se llama. Se llama. And you notice I've got the little je. Se llama. ¿Cómo se llama? What's his name? If I talk about a female, it'll be not él, but ella, which means she, but it still uses se llama. It still uses se llama for the what's the name part. So the two questions are, ¿cómo se llama? To talk about él. ¿Cómo se llama? Same verb. To talk about ella, she. Notice, if I talk about one person, it's se llama, same verb. And if I talk about usted, it uses the same verb. Formal you uses the same verb. Formal you will always use the same verb as talking about her, one person, talking about him, one person. These three entities of him, a guy, her, a girl, or you, formal, will always use the same verb. And in this case, specifically, it's se llama. Okay. So what's his name? Or what's her name? Or what's your name formal is se llama. ¿Cómo se llama él? What's his name? ¿Cómo se llama ella? What's her name? ¿Cómo se llama usted? What's your name? But if I'm talking to a kid, if it's two 20-somethings talking to each other, they'll go into familiar. And notice the se llama turns into te llamas with an S at the end. That S at the end is always a telltale. Ooh, it's a tú thing. It's a tú thing. It's a tú verb. ¿Cómo te llamas? What's your name? ¿Cómo te llamas? If I talk to a little kid, ¿cómo te llamas? Because I don't use usted with a kid. All right. So the way we introduce ourselves might be one of three different ways. Me llamo Marilyn. Mi nombre es Marilyn. Soy Marilyn. We're going to focus a little bit on this soy bit with another screen I'm going to show you, because your book already, I can't remember if it's because it's still newish to me. It might be chapter 2 or chapter 3. They already start to see this word soy come up quite a lot. Soy is not the stuff you put on Oriental food. It is the whole verb that means I am. Soy. Okay. So to talk about identifying your name, any of those three are okay, followed by your name. Me llamo Marilyn. Mi nombre es, my name is Marilyn. Soy Marilyn. Identifying yourself, okay? But here are those me llamo combinations, and you'll see how they change depending on the person I'm talking about or the person I'm talking to. Me llamo means I'm talking about myself. Me llamo, my name is. Te llamas, you're talking to somebody in the familiar buddy way. Te llamas. Okay. If I'm talking about one person or the formal you, it'll be se llama. But it's got to be one human being. Se llama. And notice, llama. But llamas, an S at the end if they talk with tú. And notice it'll change to an N at the end if I talk about more than one person. Se llaman means their names are, or you guys are called. You plural. Se llaman. And these little thingies on the end of the verb tell you who we're talking about or who we're talking to. And if I want to say our names are, it will be nos llamamos. You won't need that one quite so much yet. Okay. And we talked a little bit about these guys. We talked a little about that. Oh, let's expand. We talk about one person. It's se llama. If I talk about these people together, both of them, Se llaman Blake Lively y Ryan Reynolds. Se llaman. Their names are. Se llaman. Se llaman. Se llaman. I could, instead of saying se llaman, substitute in the word they are. Son, Blake y Ryan. Son, Blake y Ryan. They are. Se llaman, more specifically, their names are. Literally, they call themselves, but son, they are. I'm identifying who they are. So the rest of the class, we're going to talk about how we always identify who or what people are, who or what things are. Yeah, the son thing is going to become important very, very soon. Let's talk about this. If we talk about these two guys, if I talk only about one guy or only about the other guy, it'll be, his name is, se llama Tom Brady. Se llama Tom Brady. Se llama Tom Brady. Or the other guy in amarillo and yellow, se llama LeBron James. Se llama LeBron James. His name is Tom Brady. Se llama Tom Brady. His name is LeBron James. Se llama LeBron James. If I talk about them together, I got to slap a n sound on the end of se llama. It becomes se llaman. Se llaman Tom Brady y LeBron James. Because now I'm grouping them together. Se llaman. Okay. I could alternately say, I could use this verb, es. He is. Es LeBron James. Es Tom Brady. That works. If I talk about one person, es Tom Brady. Talk about one guy, es LeBron James. But if I talk about the two of them together, that es word to say they are has to become this, son. Son, LeBron James y Tom Brady. Son, LeBron James y Tom Brady. Son, they are. So, se llama, se llaman, es or son are often used to identify. Often by name or maybe by how they look or how they act. These are common verbs that you hear people use a lot. Es or son. And we're going to take a minute to look at, momentito. Whoop. Wrong one. Still wrong one. What subject pronouns are. Okay. They will already start to introduce this in combination with the verb ser, which means to be. Ser is the verb that es and son comes from. Okay. But in order to be able to use es and son, we need to know what subject pronouns are first. Subject pronouns mean this: I, you, he, she, they, we. And it tells you who we're talking about doing the action. Who's the subject? They're subject pronouns. Subject pronouns tell you who we're talking about. They and the verb will change to match up with, to play nice with the subject pronoun. Okay. Let's take a look at what the subject pronouns are. And you'll often see this grid. And this grid is helpful because we need to know which kind of a verb pairs up with a specific human being. Okay. So here are the specific human beings, the subject pronouns. They are yo, I, yo, tú, you already know what that means. Él, he, ella, she, usted, you formal. This left side of the chart, they're all singular, meaning these pronouns talk about a onesie kind of human being. Yo is called the first person. You learned that in writing like third grade, but you don't use that now very much unless you teach grammar. Yeah. Yo is first person, but it's singular, onesie. Tu is second person. You're addressing somebody, talking to them directly, but it's second person, singular, right? And él or ella or usted all get grouped into a category we call third person, singular, onesies, one human person. And notice él, ella, usted are not the same human being. Él is a male person. Ella is a female person. Usted is, well, could be a male or a female, but it's you. Él and ella and usted always use the same kind of verb. Okay, but tú will use a different kind, a different form of verb. And yo will use a different form of verb. First person, yo. Second person, tú. Third person, it'll use él or ella, usted. They'll use the same kind of verb. Those are singular, but there's the plural side, the right-hand side of that. So here are the subject pronouns. Nosotros, we. It means I'm in a group. It means yo combined with somebody else. It means I'm with my family, I'm with my friend, I'm with the guy next door, I'm with a bunch of people. It means yo, but combined with somebody else. So that's why we call this first person plural. I have somebody with me. I'm not alone. Nosotros, nosotros. Second person plural, this is the Spain thing. The plural of tú, vosotros. You don't need to worry about it. Yay! So let's trash it for now. But the plural of él will be ellos. The plural of ella will be ellas. And the plural of usted will be ustedes. And this always gets grouped, used or called as a group, third person plural. Means you got a gang of people. And I'm not in the gang. It's somebody apart from me. Yeah. Third person. Ellos can mean they, all guys, mixed guys and gals together. 30 women, one guy, still identified as ellos. Go figure. It's the way it is. Ellas has to be plural, purely female gang. Always. Ellas. Okay. Ustedes doesn't have a gender designation. So it's just you. Okay. Bien? Good? Okay. So I'll send you this list so you've got it. It explains a little of the grammar ease of what we mean by first person, whether it's singular or plural, what we mean by second person, what we mean by third person, and those little color things are going to mean something, okay? So here's what we're going to flip to. You're going to see in your book, they're going to take these pronouns, yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. When we start to use them with verbs, it becomes important. Each pronoun will match up with a specific verb form, always. And in Spanish, the verb tells the whole story. It tells who's doing the action of that verb and when they're doing it. When? Like now or yesterday or Friday, right? Present, past, future. It tells all that, okay? So what's going to happen is in Spanish, once you start using a verb, these blue words start to be discarded. People will not bother with them. They won't even say them in the sentence because the verb will match up with one of those blue words. And they know from the verb form automatically who's doing the action. So they drop these blue words freely. You, right now, will need to pair them up because you need to match it up to know who we're talking about. But as you move on, you will drop those blue words. You will drop them like the plague. They will not bother. And no matter what verb you're talking about, people will drop those blue words. But for now, you're going to have to match them up. Okay. And we're going to look at this verb ser. Ser means to be. And we use it to identify who people are. Like he's Tom Brady. He's LeBron. Yeah. We used to talk about profession. We used to talk about where people are from or what people are like. Yeah. And here are the forms for the verb ser. Ser, sadly, is a very irregular verb. That means you just need to memorize the heck out of what is the verb form. So here's the way we say I am to identify myself. Soy. Here are the forms of ser, to be. Soy, I am. That one word means I am. Why do I have yo in parentheses? Because people will generally not bother to say the word yo. You may need to right now to make sure you match it up. But eventually, drop the yo. Eventually, okay? People are likely to talk to you only using this word by itself because the only word it can possibly pair up with is yo. So it would be like in English if I said am late. But we don't say that in English, do we? Am late. Am only matches up with I, but we always say the I part. In Spanish, they don't say the I part. They'll just say soy. Soy. Soy mujer, I am a woman. Soy maestra, I'm a teacher. Soy de Arizona, I'm from Arizona. Soy Marilyn, and I will not bother with the yo. Okay, so soy. The form of ser for tú is just eres. 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 Tú eres. You can say tú eres. It's proper, but people won't bother with the word tú. Just so you know, don't expect to hear it. Okay? You may need to match it up right now, and that's okay. But people will drop it. And notice that S at the end, verbs that mean you, tú, the person who is tú, are doing the action, will always get an S at the end in present. Okay? An S. So, repeat now. Why don't you try these words with me? Soy.
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 Eres.
Eres.
If I talk about one human being a guy, one human being a gal, or the formal you, usted, it's es. 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 Even, guys, es even means it is. It even extends out to mean it is. Yeah, to talk about a thing. Yeah, that isn't él, a he, or ella, a she. It is still es, and it's just es. Okay, so we need to memorize these. Soy,
Soy.
eres,
Eres.
es.
Es.
One guy. Here are the plural ones that you need. If I'm in the group, I got people with me. It's somos. Somos, all by itself. We are. When you see parentheses, it means people won't bother to say that word. You'll only hear the somos part. Somos. Somos. We are. And son.
Son.
They are. Son. Son. Okay? Son. So we've got soy, eres, es, talk about one human being, and somos, son, to talk about more than one. Okay? I am, you are, he is, we are, they are. Okay. And that little N at the end, that will pop up in every single verb that talks about a group of people, as long as I'm not part of that group of people. Okay. So I want you to focus on that. I want you to focus actually on memorizing those verbs, memorizing them. I'm going to send you some videos to watch to talk about those subject pronouns and the verb ser. And I want to make sure you are reading through chapters, read and review chapters 1, 2, and 3, and start to get into chapter 4, 4. You're going to hear these, this es verb and those pronouns come up, and we're going to identify people as guys and girls and what country they're from and all that when we come back next week. So make sure you get through chapter 4 here. ¿Está bien? We're good with that?
Sí.
Okay. Okay. I think that is enough for you. Yeah, you can take a peek at chapter 5 if you want. They start to talk about families if you want, but if you don't get that far, don't sweat it too much. ¿Está bien? We good?
Bien.
Bien. Fantástico. Bien. Good. Bien.
Bien.
Excelente, excelente. Okay. A ver. Okay. And any questions you have midweek, email, type me up, quick question. Perfectly okay. And we're going to plug these into a lot of pictures for you to respond using soy, eres, es, somos, son. We're going to plug those in, and we're going to plug in a couple extra verbs next week as well. ¿Está bien? Good?
Bien.
Fantástico, fantástico. Ok, entonces, nos vemos. We'll see each other. Nos vemos. Hasta luego. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
When people say goodbye in Spanish, you really should say goodbye 3 times, 3 different ways. Otherwise, they think, someone goes, adios, and they walk away. You are a rude guy. Yay. Adios. Hasta luego. Cuídense, take care, cuídense. You'll hear those on the little videos for this week, okay? Always say goodbye 3 ways, 3 ways. Then, oh, you sound natural, natural. Okay, vale, magnífico. Hasta luego.